Zangoose, the cat ferret Pokemon. Welcome everyone, I'm exceptional and I hope you are too. Today we will be following up on the Battle of the Snakes from last week, seeing how quickly Zangoose can defeat Pokemon FireRed, including the Round 2 Elite Four. It was requested that I pit Zangoose versus Seviper, but I feel like that would have been too one-sided. You're about to see a completely different run to last week. Seviper's initial playthrough took almost 3.5 hours to complete, and I was so frustrated that I called in my lifeline, cheating to solve Lance, which still didn't save the run. Conversely, my initial impression of Zangoose is that he'll be standing up with Armaldo at the top of the tier list. I choose the name Rick Tick Tavi, short for Ricky Tikki Tavi, the mongoose from the Jungle Book. We may be natural rivals with our Seviper Nagana from last week, but there is no competition between these two in a solo run of FireRed. Before we get too far into things, there are further details in the description, but my general rules are: I can only use my starter in battle, no items in trainer battles except for held items, no glitches, exploits, or RNG manipulations, and I don't particularly like accuracy and evasion strategies, so I will tend to avoid them. In addition to that, in my Versus videos, I start with the Pokemon fully evolved, where applicable, with the option of a single egg move. This is a continuation to last week's Versus video, so I will be following these rules. Ricky gets a lot of options, but honestly, the best of them that I can see for us today is Double Kick. I might have been able to come up with some clever use of Flail, but we're not gonna need it. Double Kick gives us an option for Brock, whom I'm going to make a beeline to, skipping every trainer except for the mandatory Bugcatcher Sammy. By the way, did you see that trip from Palatown to Viridian City? Not a single encounter, that's a first. Let's check out Brock. As a part of the erratic growth rate group, we're the exact opposite of Seviper. The fluctuating growth group grows incredibly quickly early and then much more slowly after level 36. The erratic group, however, has the slowest start, remaining the slowest until level 50. Then things get easier and easier. Fun fact, it takes us less experience to go from level 99 to 100 than it takes us to get from 66 to 67. Because of this, we're only level 6 entering the Brock battle, but with some good luck from Geodude and no Rock Tombs from Onix, Double Kick actually carried us through. I was not expecting that. So that Brock battle felt unnecessarily risky. I'm really surprised that we won it, to be honest. A second problem reveals itself in Mount Moon. So I was just coming off of the Battle of the Snakes video when I played this run. I was quite tired, as that video took a lot out of me. This initial Zangoose run gets a little messy in spots. A big disadvantage of being at such a low level is that our repels also don't work as effectively. Repel's effect is based on our level, and at only level 10 right now, we're open to all of the level 10 encounters on the first floor. More bad news is that there are level 11 and 12 Pokemon on the final floor. I don't make it far though, as I neglect to walk past this spinner instead of running. His Sandshrew sand attacks us into oblivion and then defense curls like mad. He takes us down, sending us back before Brock. Well, at least I know we're saving time in the second run now. I'm actually really glad that this happened. In our rematch against Brock, it's clear that our first battle was very lucky, with Geodude bringing us down to a third before Onix has even smelled us yet. I go back to the forest and defeat 2 more Bugcatchers, leveling up to 8, and then the battle seems to be much more in our favor. I did get 1 more resets because I accidentally walked down into Camper Liam. Sandshrews are no good for us right now. At level 8, our damage output is higher, while our ability to take hits increases as well. We finish the battle with a third of our health remaining, and I will mark this as Ricky's Brock split. Back where I reset last time, I'm just gonna tiptoe past this time. We lost a little over 6 minutes to that reset. I was tempted to replay it all, but in the first playthrough, this is fine. Again, I now know a location to save in front of for the next run. On the way out of the cave, I make sure to grab the Helix Fossil. Don't worry though, my domies, my allegiance rests with the Dark Lord, but I want to try and dethrone Armaldo today. I'll take any bit of speed that I can. In Cerulean City, our erratic growth rate continues to cause a bit of strife. First though, we stop by the move tutors just outside of the cave exit to teach Mega Punch to Ricky. We're going to learn Slash at level 19, but for the interim we're going to rely on Stab, or same type attack bonus, Mega Punch. At an effective power of 120, I can live with 85% accuracy for a few levels. We're only level 13 right now, but at level 10 we learn something that might make that not matter. Misty Starmie is fast and hits hard. With only 60 base special defense and 6 levels under her, I didn't like those odds, so I challenged Rival 2 first instead. At level 10, Ricky learned one of the most powerful moves in this generation, Swords Dance. It increases our attack by 2 stages in battle. I set up one SD and then pacify his puny pack of Pokémon with +2 stab meaty-mitted mega punches. Buckle up, everyone. Ricky is going to be moving fast. To save time, I even skip by TM43 Secret Power. This allows me to knock out one less trainer, and like I mentioned, we're learning Slash at level 19 anyway. Let's check out Misty. I hope you're ready to hear a lot of this. I start the battle by setting up one SD. Staryu hardens, no big deal, and then we miss our first Mega Punch. That's fine, it's expected now and then with Mega Punch. She gets in a Water Pulse, but we knock down Staryu on the next turn. We level up to 18 over the next damage rounding threshold as her Ace Starmie enters the battle. Don't know if we needed it, but hey, more damage is more damage. Starmie outspeeds, hitting a Water Pulse for around half of our max HP, but we hit harder, taking down the mysterious Pokemon in one. That's 2 badges. Next is the SS Anne. Unsurprisingly, with this kitchen sink of a learn set, we will not be pursuing an army of Meowths with Ricky. Our moveset is already forming up nicely, even this early into the game. I grab a quick heal, and then in the second room from the left there lies TM31 Brick Break. This move is going to stick around for a long time. As a base 75 power fighting move, it covers our steel and rock opponents very nicely. I then make sure to grab the trash can berries because I feel that they're going to be very valuable for us throughout this run. Ha ha ha. I take a moment's pause at the start of the battle, weighing my options. I elect to not use an SD, instead taking Pidgeotto out in a single critical slash. Let the culling commence. This is the raw power of Ricky, not to mention the fact that we're level 20 right now. Most Pokemon that I run are around or approaching the mid-20s at this point. 2 shots take down his Ace Wartortle, and we're ready to take on our third gym leader, Lieutenant Surge. I lead with Swords Dance. Tell me, how do you think that Ricky actually performs this Swords Dance? Those claws must do something flashy. Flashy though, this battle is not. After one SD, we rolled through his whole team. Early access to Swords Dance is so incredibly powerful. It's why I chose an Adamant Nature. Despite that absolutely massive learn set available to us, the second I saw SD, it was all about the physical moves. Surge falls, and we're off to the mid-game. On the way to Rock Tunnel, I also make sure to grab TM40 Aerial Ace. This is going to give us a great coverage tool and an option that hits Ghost Pokemon in the upcoming section. On the other side of Rock Tunnel, I swing south of Lavender to the Gatehouse to also grab TM27 Return. This is going to be hands down our most powerful move for the remainder of the game. Once we've fully spirit bonded, reaching 255 friendship or happiness with Ricky, Stab Return will have an effective power of 153. Backed by a nature-boosted base 115 attack and 90 speed? Oh yeah. I was asked lately in the comments about why I do things like targeting the trainers on the left side of Erica's gym for the EVs instead of grinding more and just being stronger in general. I actually do this everywhere in the game, here defeating the gamer Rich instead of Last Julia. That's because I am required to face one of them, but am not interested in gaining extra experience at this point. The gamer provides 1 attack and 1 speed EV, while the last provides 4 HP EVs. In Erica's gym, the 2 mandatory trainers on the left provide 3 attack and 1 defense, while the 2 mandatory on the right provide 6 special attack. The center is mixed and has a lot more trainers, so I typically just avoid it. Since real-time completion is always the metric that I place the most weight on, I feel that generally getting to the higher XP density towards the later game is more beneficial than grinding early. That is not, however, always the case. We'll come back to that in our second playthrough, but for now, let's get back into things. I complete the typical mid-game chores, then after defeating the Rocket Hideout, I make sure to grab the coin case on the way to Erica's gym. There's a move that I want from the game corner. I'll mention more about it later in the run, but TM30 Shadow Ball sure looks like a juicy way to round out our coverage. It's going to be a tough balance to strike though. I want the move, but I also want vitamins. We'll keep discussing that later though. First we have to ruin Erica's day. Actually, I have some unfortunate news about that. Out of sheer habit, I equipped my Cherry Berry at Lieutenant Surge, even though I don't believe that it was necessary at all. It was also consumed during that battle, so once we're paralyzed by Victory Bell, it's for the duration. We end up fully paralyzed against her Ace Vileplume, and she takes us down. In the next attempt though, we are not, and so we win. I tried not setting up with SD initially, but it's just too good. Aerial Ace gives us a super effective move here for an effective power of 120. Despite how much I've gushed about it, I have not taught Return quite yet. It is friendship based after all, and I don't feel like we're quite there yet. A note for the next playthrough can be collected though. Save, Cherry, 4, Erica, sweet, that's 4 badges, next is Pokemon Tower. Rival 4 blocks our way forward. Our current moveset is Slash, Aerial Ace, Brick Break, and my precious Swords Dance. I always want to get rid of Pidgeotto as quickly as I can. I do not want to be messing about with Sand Attack. We're intimidated from Growlithe, so I overkill it, going to +3 with SD and then steamrolling his team. The reason I'm still rolling with Slash is that I don't know if Return is doing more damage yet. One thing I want to implement soon is having a piece of software called Game Hook running. As I understand, it's tied into the game's RAM, giving me live updating information about the game. I would love to get it worked out locally first, with a goal of implementing it into my layouts in the future. With it, I would be able to know where my friendship level is exactly, and if Return would be doing more damage. In order to overcome Slash, we'd need a friendship value of 175. I'd wager we're close, but I don't know it right now. I've rambled enough though, we clear out the rockets in the tower and head for Silph Co. Once again, I was pretty tired coming into this run, and fresh off of running a couple of poison-type snakes, fighting types were the last thing on my mind. I promise that I have rested and recovered at this point, and my second playthrough is much better than this first one. I'm not interested in picking up a ton of items in Silph. I feel like Zangoose won't need them to beat the game, though in this first playthrough I do prioritize buying vitamins first, when instead I should have been a lot more conscious about my money. We'll come back to that. The rare candy on 10F is always very tempting. I autopilot it up here and get taken down by this Rocket Grunt's Machoke. This reset sends us back before Rival 4 in Pokemon Tower. Oh yeah, we're gonna be saving some time in the second playthrough. I skipped the rare candy after catching back up, challenging Rival 5 instead. We're only level 37 coming into the battle, matching his lead Pidgeot, but we have Swords Dance. I set up one while Pidgeot did some damage with Wing Attack. Without being hit by Sand Attack, that pretty much guarantees us the victory. I did snag an extra SD against Alakazam because his only attacking move is Future Sight, missing the one-shot by a sliver against his Ace Blastoise. The scariest move in this battle was a stab torrent-boosted water gun that did around 30% to us. We end the battle already thinking about Sabrina. After the Rival 5 battle, I finally taught Return over Slash. Sabrina's frail psychic types don't stand much of a chance against it. Usually I would have mentioned finishing Giovanni and Silph as well because he's given some trouble to physical attackers in the past. Most of that trouble comes from poison, and our ability Immunity makes us immune to it. It's wonderful. Sabrina's Ace Alakazam outspeeds, hitting a chunky Psychic for around 2/3 of our health, but Return gets the one-shot once again. Our adventure turns south next, heading to Fuchsia City. Before starting my trek down Cycling Road, I made a stop at the department store to buy those vitamins. I focused on protein, putting our extra cash into iron as I felt it would be the more threatened stat later. Looking back at this, I would say it was ill-advised. Sure, some defense is going to be great later, but what I would have liked a lot more is a certain Game Corner TM. By spending my money there, I shortchanged my Shadow Ball piggy bank, but we'll get back to that later. We leave a bit of rubber behind, roasting down Cycling Road, avoiding as many trainers as I can because I've got that need for speed. Our next major battle is Koga. Because of our ability Immunity, I'm not very scared coming into this battle. His lead Coughing knows Smokescreen, which I cannot abide, so I take him out immediately with Return. Muck has some accuracy shenanigans as well, but they impact himself instead of us. I use the opportunity to set up a single SD and then sweep his team. Easy peasy. The power of having a setup move early in the game cannot be understated. That's 6 badges and nothing interesting happens in between, so let's actually jump straight to our next gym battle against Blaine. Blaine is the most intimidating leader in the region, because he has 2 Intimidates, resulting in a net loss of 2 attack stages throughout the battle. The sheer power of his fire moves also cannot be understated, and we're coming into the battle at level 46, 1 under his Ace Arcanine. Here's the thing though, just like my Seviper run, I get incredibly lucky. After one SD, we one-shot Growlithe, Ponyta, and even Rapidash, which I was wondering about. As his Ace Arcanine enters the battle, bringing us back to neutral attack, it becomes a question of if we survive a Fire Blast or not. We crit instead, ending the battle and collecting our 7th badge. Unlike Seviper though, I don't mind taking this lucky win and moving on. Zangoose with SD shouldn't have too much of a problem here, especially because of something that I notice at the end of the playthrough. There's still a fair amount of game to cover, so no spoilers yet. I say yes to Bill completing the first part of the Sevillain plotline so that we don't need to backtrack later for round 2. I am following the same idea though, battling as few trainers as possible and getting into the endgame as quickly as possible. Once again, nothing of note happens, so let's challenge our final leader, Giovanni. My biggest concern in this battle is losing too much speed. Rhyhorn is likely going to go for Scary Face, and if we take too many hits, that's going to be the end of it. He instead decides to go for Earthquake, so I get my turn of SD in return for about half of our health. Then, Ricky reaches behind him, grabs his broom, and gets ready for some more sweeping. My moveset has not evolved at all, aside from teaching Return over Slash. Return, Brick Break, Aerial Ace, and Sword Stance are more than enough. We finish off Giovanni, snagging our 8th badge. The final challenge between us and the Round 1 League is Rival 6. We're level 52 now, which marks a shift in the erratic growth rate. At level 50, we entered a new range, now accelerating our growth. We'll be in this range until level 68, but just know that from now on, we're going to be gaining levels faster and faster as compared to other Pokemon. Rival 6 falls without any issues, and we're off to the league. I grab the Lumberry quickly for safety, and Ricky enters the league doors at 1 hour, 1 minute, and 51 seconds. Including my really nasty resets and rough start, we enter 20 minutes ahead of the Snakes in their first runs. Even better news still for Ricky is that with our setup move, we're about to have a much easier time in both leagues than the Snakes did. I haven't done any additional training, so after a quick stop to shop and set ourselves up with items for the rest of the game, we're ready to jump into the Round 1 League. Lorelei kicks us off, and I just have to sit and appreciate setup moves for a moment. First though, turn 1 Freeze and Thaw against Dugongongong. That was pretty cool. We're the same level as our team, and after a single use of SD, we can then use Stab Return to sweep. Ricky embodies what I wanted from Seviper's run. Our defenses are equivalent, but having that speed is so valuable. In my Versus videos, I really do try to keep the races compelling, and to me that means having them be similarly capable of taking on the game. SD puts Zangoose in an entirely different class of solo runner compared to Arbok and Seviper. In this first league battle, we end it at half health, although almost half of the damage that we took was from hail. Bruno might prove to be a little more challenging though. We saw what that Machoke was capable of doing to us earlier, so how about the Big Daddy Machamp? Actually, scratch that. Let's forget about Machamp for a moment and let's discuss Onix. Onix is probably the most threatening Pokemon in this battle for us. Not because he can knock us out, but because he can lower our speed. He hits with Rock Tomb doing just that, so once Hitmonchan comes out, he outspeeds and hits a massive Sky Uppercut, almost taking us out. I'd say Hitmonchan is the least threatening of his fighting types too. We can polish him off, but his brother Hitmonlee says, "Catch ya later." In the next attempt, we get to see what this battle looks like if Onix goes for Earthquake instead and leaves our speed intact. We get our SD in while taking about 20% damage. Then, Brick Break handles both of his Onyxuses, and a display of riveting returns relentlessly ravish Bruno's rowdy rockers, roughly speaking. We toss him a remarkably roguish smile, reaping our reward for that riveting victory, ready to resume our journey. Agatha's team can be responsible for some nasty business in a battle. She uses a lot of status condition effects like Hypnosis and Confuse Ray. This was the battle that I would have loved to have Shadow Ball for. In Gen 3, it's a physical move and would have given us a great tool. As it was, we had to make do with Aerial Ace, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Her lead Gengar loves setting up with double teams, so I just let her, setting up to +4 in total. Arbok knocks us back to +3, which isn't enough to take out her Ace Gengar, resulting in some extra damage taken by us. That is all of the information that I needed here for next run. Her Haunter in the back falls. Next is the long hallway to the Dragon Master Lance. This round 1 battle is actually quite a bit different from what we're going to experience in round 2. I've discovered in the past that as long as you're reasonably fast, you can simply set up for as long as you need to against his lead Gyarados, taking as much damage as you're willing to. I set up to +3 because of his Intimidate, bearing in mind that Aerodactyl will likely outspeed and get a hit in, and then you'll never guess what happens. +3 stab, return, breaks Lance's team. I make the switch to Brick Break for Aerodactyl, but fun fact, resisted return would have done slightly more damage. Like, barely noticeable. In fact, so little that the difference might end up not existing. If one of you would like to test that, let me know about it in the comments. Lance falls and we're already ready to face the round 1 champion. We start with SD while Pidgeot hits Aerial Ace for a bit of damage. Okay, let's take down this champion. Oh, hold the phone though. Alakazam outspeeds us, hitting Psychic and taking Ricky to only 27 HP. Okay, well, we're a little set up, so maybe we're fine? Nope. Executor tanks the next hit, finishing us with a critical Giga Drain. I did go for Aerial Ace here though, which was a bit foolish. I incur 2 more resets, and maybe all of my confidence in this run was misplaced. Maybe this is gonna be another one that completely takes me off guard and I break my reset counter for a 3rd time in as many weeks. Not! That Psychic from Alakazam is a rough hit to take, but I was still confident that this was possible. Turns out that all I needed for Alakazam to do was cast Reflect instead of Psychic. Not taking that damage results in not knocking out Executor again after setting up a 2nd SD, but knocking him into heal range, so I set up a 3rd. This time Executor does not survive, and there's more good news as the Reflect fades as Rhydon comes out. Brick Break takes him out, and then Arcanine enters the fray, intimidating us back to +5. But yeah, +5 is still way more than we needed. We outspeed and take out his remaining Pokemon. That battle was slightly lucky, but we also didn't have to make a single change to ourselves to win it. An extra level or 2 would likely allow us to outspeed Alakazam, and that battle would be a cakewalk. Rick Tick Tavi clocks in with a round 1 time of 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 26 seconds at level 61 with 10 resets. This took 3 hours and 36 minutes of game time. It doesn't take much at all to clear the second half of the Sevii Island plotline, unlocking the Round 2 League. I make my usual stop on Route 12 to grab the leftovers, and we're quickly ready to move into the final chapter of the game. We're leveled into the mid-60s now, and our erratic growth rate is about to see another acceleration point at level 68. But I doubt its relevance for the rest of the playthrough. Something that I learned while playing our Maldo's run is that using rare candies earlier in the run has a lot more overall benefit for the erratic group. We'll talk about rare candies in a few minutes though. I want to get into the real league of this game. Let's do it, Lorelei. Absolutely nothing about our moveset, or unsurprisingly, our strategy has changed. Before entering the league, I had a disappointing realization though. With the money that I invested into vitamins earlier, plus the lack of trainers that we've battled throughout the entire run, even after selling my inventory down to the bare bones, we just didn't have enough money for Shadow Ball. With our winnings from Lorelei alone, we could have afforded it. I was half tempted to go hit up a random battle or 2, but that's just not what Playthrough 1 is about. It's not like Aerial Ace isn't useful. Because it can't miss, it's a great tool against double-team-loving Pokemon like Agatha's Gengar and Lorelei's Round 2 Dugong. We end the battle having leveled up to 69. Nice. Number 2 is Bruno. Remember those troubles that we had against Bruno in Round 1? They haven't really changed. The speed reduction from Rock Tombs that his now upgraded Steelix can rain down on us are not gonna help our cause. Brick Break continues to give us a super effective option, but once his lead Steelix falls, our speed is absolutely trashed, -3 to be exact. Hitmonchan almost takes us down just like last time, with even the not very nimble Ace Machamp outspeeding us and of course ending the battle. Well, that looks a little rough. What's it gonna take to get through this one? Well, as it turns out, a bit of dumb luck. I wanted to check the range of Brick Break unboosted, but got a crit while he hit Earthquake. Okay, that's fine, I'll set up 1 SD while he heals. After last battle, I do know that I need +4, so I'll set up again and he misses Rock Tomb. Okay, cool, we win this one. Rock Tomb only has an accuracy of 80%, so it's not like this was outlandishly lucky, but a good strategic foundation, this is not. I will be coming back with a better plan, but for now, as we watch their health bars melt away, there's one thing about Ricky that's certain. His groundwork isn't going to take much to tweak for an absolutely dominant second playthrough. Bruno is outta here. Let's check out Agatha. Round 2 Agatha can be quite a bit more threatening than her Round 1 counterpart. She has a lot more powerful moves spread amongst her Pokemon, and our defenses are not the greatest. We're still only rocking Aerial Ace, so I try setting up to +4 against her lead Gengar, hoping that'll be enough for one-shots. This cost us almost 2/3 of our health, but we're set up and recovering thanks to leftovers. Let's just hope that we outspeed. Turns out we do. That Intimidate from Arbok was what I was most concerned about. +3 Aerial Ace was still enough for the Ace Gengar though, so we collect one more victory. Lance has been studying, so let's check out the Dragon Doctoral. His lead Gyarados' entire purpose in life is to paralyze you. Sure, he's an absolute menace once he does on his own, but that is most of what his AI will try to do. That Lumberry that I grabbed sure came in handy, curing our paralysis after 1 SD, but we're only at +1 because of Intimidate. It's then one-shots for all, knocking out Gyarados, his lesser Dragonite, and Kingdra. Aerodactyl though outspeeds, hitting Earthquake for a little over a quarter and then survives Brick Break. He manages to get in another EQ before we drop him, but because of needing that Lumberry, we don't have any recovery in this battle. As it turns out, at level 73, +3 Stab Return isn't quite enough for Dragonite. The last thing we see before darkness sets in is an orange puffball being more and more obscured as a Hyper Beam rockets towards us. In the next battle, the attempt goes exactly the same, leading up to Aerodactyl. I know this thing will likely hit me twice, so let's use that knowledge to my advantage. I use my first turn to set up one more SD, bringing us to +3 while we take our first EQ. We then take the second EQ almost identically to last time, but with the additional setup we now one-shot. Ricky outspeeds, and as it turns out, +3 Stab Return is enough to bring down Lance's Ace Dragonite. We must have just rolled a really low range last time. Our final challenge lies in the Round 2 champion. We square off against Heracross first. He's another Rock Tomb user, so I have to be aware of speed drops again. I set up 1 SD while he goes for counter. Ha, not this time. We outspeed and return drops him. We're at the same level as Alakazam, but we have the benefit of EVs on our side, outspeeding and bringing him down as well. Exeggutor falls in 1 as well, and this battle is feeling very one-sided so far. After weeks of suffering at the hands of this Tyranitar, it feels so good to hit a +2, 4 times super effective Brick Break, taking down the big unit in a single shot. Arcanine is out, intimidating us back to +1. It matters not as we continue our assault with Stab Return, one-shotting the Fire Doggo as well. We leveled to 75, matching his Ace Blastoise, who we then outspeed and one-shot for the victory. Ricky has done it. Before that victory march though, I want to jump to some footage I took right after Lance. So, you see that correctly. I haven't used a single rare candy this entire time. My lone Meowth did grab me 1, and I grabbed another 13 from the region. Remember when I said that I wasn't worried about solving Blaine? We have so much flexibility in our next run. Let's jump back to the Champions Room and wrap up the first playthrough. As we walk towards the Hall of Fame with 1 hour and 24 minutes on the clock, I want to remind you all of the mistakes that were made in this first playthrough. On top of those rare candies that were left over, I'm gunning for that top non-legendary spot. Do you think we can do it? Ricky Tikki Tavi clocks in with a round 2 time of 1 hour, 24 minutes, and 25 seconds at level 75 with 13 resets. This took 4 hours and 33 minutes of game time. Get ready for a very quick second playthrough. We're going to be moving fast enough as is, but I'm also going to be glossing over anything that is very similar to the first playthrough, focusing more on the changes that I made in the second. We start with an almost identical setup to last run, with an Adamant Nature and our Egg move choice remaining Double Kick to help us through Brock. The biggest change to the early game was in Viridian Forest, so let's jump there. This time, our first pass through Viridian Forest, I defeat 3 optional trainers, Bugcatcher Rick, Doug, and Charlie. Including the mandatory Bugcatcher Sammy at the end of the forest, we're slightly over level 8, giving us a much more consistent battle against Brock, but it's by no means 100%. Let's jump in and take a look. Level 8 brings us over a damage rounding threshold, which is nice, but it also dials up our survivability. If I get tackled too much by Geodude or if Onix gets a crit or something, this battle does fall apart. Geodude takes 3 double kicks to bring down, followed by 4 for Onix, and we do get lucky in this battle, barely taking any damage at all. That's badge 1, let's keep moving. On the way through Mount Moon, I make sure to grab the Helix fossil. We're all about that speed today, and I would really love to dethrone Armaldo. The only thing I changed through the cave itself was that I battled 2 extra trainers so that we'd be level 11 on the first floor and level 12 on the second. This makes our repels actually effective, though we still get caught by the odd level 12 Clefairy. I grab Mega Punch on the other side of the cave and we're heading straight to Rival 2. In the first attempt, Pidgeotto tags us with a sand attack that led to an early first reset. That was a whole bunch of misses against Squirtle, even after switching to the more accurate quick attack. Well, let's hope there aren't too many of those. In the second battle, I'm going to speed it up a bunch to just show the whole fight. We get in an SD, and then it's one-shots all around. We had no issues with the upcoming battles, so let's make some quick and dirty progress. I defeat Misty, Rival 3 on the SSN, and Lieutenant Surge for our third badge. We're then quickly in the mid-game, following the exact same route as last time. I made sure to grab TM31 Brick Break on the SSN, TM40 Aerial Ace on Route 9, and TM27 Return south of Lavender to fill out our moveset for the mid-game. After picking up Fly, I teach all of these moves now instead of individually to save on some menuing time. We continue following the same route as last time, so let's make some more progress. I defeat the Rockets in the hideout, making sure to grab the coin case again, and I will be using it this time. I then defeat Erica, keeping the Cherry Berry for her this time, Rival 4 in Pokemon Tower, and we find ourselves quickly back in Silph Co where I'm going to be making my next change. After grabbing the card key, I warp back to 5F to grab the protein, then head to 9F for the heal and quick path to Rival 5. I grab the protein from 3F as well, equip my Citrus Berry, and use our first rare candies, bringing us from level 35 to 40 before the battle. My goal with the vitamins this time is to just use these, the protein from the Safari Zone and the Carbos from the Pokemon Mansion. Beyond that, all of our money is being saved for TM30 Shadow Ball. It's slightly more expensive than the Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, Ice Beam that we're used to, costing 4,500 coins instead of 4,000. Rival 5 at level 40 is quite easy, so let's keep progressing. I then defeat Sabrina and Koga for our 6th badge. This was fast progress, but I did everything the same as last run, aside from buying no vitamins and teaching Return a little earlier over Slash. Our moveset and strategy is exactly the same: Return, Brick Break, Aerial Ace, and Swords Dance. We continue to not face many obstacles, so let's roast through the rest of the gym challenge. Blaine's battle was one that caused a little bit of pain in the first run. Not much, just a little. As such, including the rare candies before Rival 5 and Silph, I've used another 3, bringing us to level 50 before the battle. At this level, I can set up 2 SDs and then sweep through his team with good old Stab Return. That's 7 badges, let's check out the 8th. Giovanni actually posed a lot of potential to be a nasty battle-less playthrough. I did not test this, but I was hoping that the additional levels that we gained this time would give us the one-shot against Rhyhorn. It does not, so we get hit by Scary Face, dropping our speed by 2 stages before taking him out. That's what I was worried about, and now the powerhouses on his team will each get a hit in. After taking 2 Earthquakes from the Nidos, I'm super worried about another from Dugtrio, but he goes for Slash, and we win. Phew! Alright, that wasn't too bad, but a little closer than I would have liked. We're moving on through as I defeat Rival 6. Once he fell, I started towards Indigo Plateau, and a thought occurred to me. My best round 1 completion time to date was Kyogre at 53 minutes and 11 seconds. We defeated Rival 6 at 46 minutes and 39 seconds. Could we actually dethrone the Sea Basin legendary Pokemon? Let's jump into the league and find out. As is becoming tradition in my second playthroughs, I'm actually going to supercut the initial league. Absolutely nothing has changed in strategy from the first playthrough, and we're going to be seeing very similar battles in round 2. We're rocking the same moveset, and frankly the one change is that we're going to go through the league at a slightly higher level. We enter the league at level 56 as opposed to 53. Not much different, sure, but the candies we've used gave us enough of a boost to remove a lot of inconsistency. With the erratic growth rate in particular, it is not always the best move to save your candies for the end, but generally speaking, it still is. As we move past Lance, let's check out the round 1 champion. Against his lead Pidgeot, we trade a Feather Dance for Swords Dance, turn 1 for a net 0 turn. We then get 1 SD in while taking a Sand Attack, so we're at -1 accuracy for the rest of the battle. Now we just have to cross our fingers and hope we don't miss too much. It occurs to me that I didn't discuss why I chose the Blastoise team. Well, usually with physical attackers I pit them against Venusaur because of the double Intimidate. I felt with SD though we had the tools to overcome that quite easily, and frankly, I missed facing the Blastoise team. Everything is going swimmingly until we miss the one-shot against Arcanine. Not to worry though, after being scorched by a stab flamethrower, I set up one SD while he heals. Oh yeah, that is more than enough now, as long as we don't miss. Yep. We continue hitting through and therefore end the battle. I take a quick look back at that clock and we've just rolled over Kyogre's round 1 finish time. So close, but not today. Zangoose clocks in with a round 1 time of 53 minutes and 25 seconds at level 63 with 1 reset. This took 3 hours and 21 minutes of game time. Between the leagues, I complete the remaining Sevi Island plotline and 3 additional chores. First, I grab the leftovers from Snorlax. The leftovers isn't a make or break item for Zangoose, but it's going to give a lot more consistency in combination with my other changes for round 2. Second, over in Celadon City, I'm finally spending all of my hard-earned money in order to buy TM30 Shadow Ball. I wanted this last run, but since we bought all those vitamins, we just didn't have the cash. Whoops. And of course, Stop 3 is a stop that longtime viewers of the channel are more than familiar with. We're picking up Substitute for the Round 2 League. After all, substrats, best strats. Let's jump in. We're now level 70 at the start of the league compared to level 68. As you can see, using those rare candies earlier did not make a significant impact on our level in the late game. I even used one final rare candy, bringing us up to level 70 from level 69. Nice. Had to get one in. I hope that this Lorelei battle properly illustrates that you didn't miss much last league. We set up one SD, and then 5 turns later, we'd knock down our 5 party members. Easy peasy. Now, let's talk about Bruno, no. Well, he is more challenging, but I've come prepared this time. Our number 1 issue against him last time was losing speed due to Rock Tomb from his lead. That led to us being outsped and taking multiple hits when we can barely survive 1 from his fighting Pokemon. Substitute is going to let us work around that though. It sacrifices a quarter of our max HP to put up a decoy with hit points equivalent to what we sacrificed. The decoy then absorbs damage and more importantly status conditions from our opponents. Steelix breaks our decoy a couple of times, so I do need to re-establish them, but then we take him down. Now at +4, because both of his Steelixes have monstrous defense stats, we can bash Bruno's boys. Return for his fighting types, Brick Breaks for his steel types. But wait, nothing on that moveset hits Agatha's ghosts. What? Well, that's why I bought Shadow Ball, everyone. I replaced Brick Break with Shadow Ball between battles, and once again with Substitute on our side, we can avoid almost all of Agatha's shenanigans. But actually, why bother? One SD against her lead resulted in us taking some damage from Psychic. Then Shadow Ball blasts her ghosts, while Return cleans up both Crobat and Arbok in a single shot. The Intimidate from Arbok did not matter either. Shadow Ball seems to be slightly more effective here than Aerial Ace was. As her Ace Gengar falls after being outsped, we steel ourselves for the final 2 battles of the game. First is the Dragon Doctoral Lance. In this battle, Substitute by itself is almost a win condition, depending on the Pokemon that we're playing. As I've mentioned before, all his lead Gyarados wants to do is paralyze us with Thunder Wave. He'll just keep using it against our decoy while we set up with impunity with 2 SDs to +3, then taking out his lead. Yes, we do need the +3 for Lance. His dragons are quite bulky and will ruin my day if I give them a chance. We are very speedy, but Aerodactyl remains faster, breaking our decoy with Earthquake. That about summarizes the threat of Lance. Talk about a different experience compared to the snakes of last week. Our final challenge lies in the Round 2 champion. His lead Heracross can be a massive threat in itself, but we have a trick up our sleeve. Because of our high speed stat, the AI wants to reduce it almost above all else. As such, he'll go for Rock Tombs, just like Bruno Steelix, a lot of the time. Keeping ourselves behind a decoy, 2 Rock Tombs will break it, so I can set up all the way to +6 before starting my onslaught. As we outspeed and fell his team members, a thought occurs to me. I could have bought one extra copy of Brick Break from Celadon Department Store, which would have resulted in not needing the +6. Something to consider though. Was one extra turn in battle faster than making the extra trip to 2F for Brick Break? It's because of Tyranitar that we needed the setup we have. +6 stab return, even resisted, brings down the big unit in a single shot. After all the pain that thing caused last week, I say good riddance. Unsurprisingly, we're faster and hitting ridiculously hard, so his Arcanine and Blastoise in the back both fall. Zangoose has done it. As we walk towards the Hall of Fame, it occurs to me, I don't know my fastest completion time off the top of my head. We're gonna find out together in a minute or so because I need to go look it up. Zangoose clocks in with a round 2 time of 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 38 seconds at level 77 with 1 reset. This took 4 hours and 20 minutes of game time. Blaze it! Let's take a quick look at how much time we saved between runs. We had a much better understanding of the requirements for Brock this time, so we gained almost 7 minutes very early. That lead roughly holds until we encounter our next nasty reset from the first run. That then, once we've defeated Sabrina, results in a nearly 12-minute time gain over last run. That lead continues to widen as we progress towards the league, saving 15 minutes and 1 second in round 1 for a total time save of 15 minutes and 47 seconds at the end of round 2, 2 levels higher with 12 less resets. We also saved 13 minutes of game time. Honestly, these runs were so intuitive to play that nearly all of our time savings were simply from bad resets on my part. Absolutely fantastic finish time. As it turns out, so fantastic that Zangoose now holds the top spot in the S tier. We didn't quite edge out Kyogre in round 1, missing the mark by 14 seconds, but by the end of round 2, Zangoose is my fastest round 2 completion at 1 minute and 46 seconds ahead of Kyogre. I hope that this also demonstrates why I chose to run Zangoose in a separate video to the snakes. There was absolutely no contest here. Before wrapping up, I want to take a moment to thank all of you generous enough to support the channel through YouTube memberships, Patreon, and Super Chat. I want to give a special shout out to Prismatron and Chris Wynn for your incredible generosity during the last live stream. Thank you all so much. You make this content possible and motivate me to continue working hard. From the bottom of my shell, thank you, thank you, thank you. Speaking of that live stream, how fun was that? I mean, it was chaotic, disorganized, and barely got anything done in my first run of Soul Silver, but I learned a lot. That is, after all, the point of that first series. Playing it a little loose with a Nuzlocke-inspired set of rules and an end goal of learning Soul Silver, learning a more team-based dynamic, and most importantly, learning to stream. My solo videos take a lot out of me every week, and I'm so thrilled to now have another avenue to bring more content to the channel. Plus, I had an absolute blast hanging out with all of you for a few hours. I plan on continuing to stream on Tuesdays, starting at 1 PM Mountain Time, at least for now. Don't worry, if you can't catch the streams, I do intend to release the VODs for your viewing pleasure, at least for now. If you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. My goal is to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. Every single like, comment, subscription, and minute watched of my content helps so much. Thank you all for your support. If you feel like I've earned it, consider leaving a like and comment about the run, what you'd like to see in the future, or you can let me know about your favorite way of preparing eggs. Oh, I love eggs. Also, if you want to keep up with my content, be sure to subscribe and enable notifications. It really helps the channel to grow. After all, substrats, best strats. Now, I need to start fixing some stuff for next week's stream and start working on the next video. Can you guess who our next runner is going to be? Until next time, take care everyone.